Hey everyone, my name is Abhishek and today we are going to create this product slideshow animation in After Effects. You can use it for any kind of product and it's very easy to create. All this by only using After Effects. So let's begin. Alright, so right now I'm in After Effects and here you can see that I've already imported the shoe image which I'm going to use for this example. But it's completely up to you. You can use whatever product you want. You can have a perfume, watch or headphones, whatever you want. And over here we have this Nike logo, but again you can use whatever logo you have. So first we will begin by creating a new composition. So let's call this one main. Width and height will be 1920 by 1080, frame rate 30 fps and duration you can set 10 seconds. Just click on OK. Now I'm going to create another composition for our product. So let's call this media, or you can call this product, whatever you want. And I'm going to make this 1000 by 1000 and rest of the things will remain same. Just click on OK. So in this composition, I'm going to quickly drag my shoe. So I'm going to just drag it over here and let's place it somewhere in the middle, which is perfect. Now we can go back to the main comp and first we will begin by dragging our media comp over here. Then I'm going to create a new solid for background. So right click, new solid, and let's call this BG for background. Just click on OK. We're going to set the color by simply applying 4 color gradient and let's drag it over here. And after that, you can change the colors according to your need. So I'm going to quickly change the colors and I'm going to pick a couple of them from this shoes itself. And let's pick something like this and let's make this one a little bit darker, somewhere around here. So once you're happy with this, you can quickly arrange the colors to make them something like this. Now this is completely up to you. You can play around with their position and you can make these colors however you want. But for this example, I think this is looking fine. So once you're happy with this, we can work with this one. Now I'm going to just quickly place my shoes over here and let's press R to rotate it and give it a nice angle somewhere around here. So I think this is looking fine. We can also scale this down a little bit by pressing S and let's quickly place it over here. Now I'm going to create a couple of circles to place around the area. But it's completely up to you. You can create squares, rectangles, whatever you want. But for this one, I'm going to select the ellipse tool. After that, you can just simply click and hold on the Control and Shift key to create a perfect circle, something like this. And once you're happy with this, we are ready to make this into a gradient. But first, let me just quickly select this and let's call this circle 1. And after that, let's add some gradient to this. So in order to do that, just click on this fill icon. And from here, you can pick this. You can pick the linear gradient or radial gradient, whatever you want. But for this one, I'm going to use the radial one. Just click on OK. Now, if you want to change the color, then you can click on the fill. And from here, you can pick whatever colors you want. And you can even delete some of these colors. If you want to add a new one, then you can just simply click and it will add a new color, something like this. First, I'm going to just pick these 2 colors and just click on OK. Now you can also play around with the gradient angle. So in order to do that, just simply click on the gradient and just click on OK. Now you can see that we have these 2 sliders and we can just move them to play around with the angle of the gradient. And you can just play around and make it look however you want. But for this one, I'm going to make this one lighter at this side and darker on the bottom, something like this. So once you're happy with this, we can probably select this and let's place this over here. Now this is on top of our media. So I'm going to place this behind this one and let's press S to scale this up. Now it's completely up to you. You can play around with its position and scale to make it however you want. So I think this is looking fine. So before we proceed, a lot of you watching right now have not subscribed to my channel and I want you to please do that because I want to hit 100k subscribers this year on my channel. So make sure to subscribe and press the bell icon. So let's continue. Now if you want to add more circles, then you can just simply select this, press Ctrl D to duplicate this. And after that, you can move around this circle. Then press S to scale this down and you can place it wherever you want. Let's place one over here and let's scale this down. Just play around with their position. And if you want to again add some colors, then you can go over here. And on this one, let's add more of white, something like this. And you can also play around with the angle. So now we have these 2 circles, but before we create more one, I'm going to quickly add our text. So in order to do that, just select the text tool and you can click and type whatever you want. For this one, I'm going to type just do it. And for the font, I'm using this Montserrat font and let's make this one bold. let's align this to the center. If you're not able to see the align panel, then you can go to Windows and from here you can enable it. Now let's make its anchor point in the center. So in order to do that, just select the layer, hold down the control key and double click on this. Let me just quickly select this, press S to scale this down, and let's scale this somewhere around here. Maybe we can make this more bold. So I'm going to just select extra bold. Now we can select this and let's place it over here. And I'm going to quickly select this, press Ctrl D to duplicate this. And I'm going to place one more text at the bottom and I'm going to call this Air Max. Now it's completely up to you. You can call it whatever you want. Let's move its anchor point to this angle. So I'm holding down the control key to move the anchor point so that it snaps at this edge. Now let's move it to somewhere around here and you can do it precisely. After that, you can scale this down to something like this and maybe we can change the font and let's make this one a little bit lighter. So I'm going to just make this semi-bold, something like that. So once you're happy with this, we are ready to add our logo as well. So let's quickly drag the Nike logo and it's quite big. So I'm going to press S to scale this down and let's scale this quite down somewhere around here. Let me just quickly place this at this corner, just like that. So once you're happy with this, we can also add a little bit of website over here. So for that, let's just quickly select this, press Ctrl D and I'm going to type nike.com. But if you have any other website, you can just type that. Let's place it over here and let's make this even more thinner. So I'm going to just pick the regular font. Let's select this one, press S to scale this down and let's scale this somewhere around here. Now once you're happy with this, you can place it wherever you want. Let me just quickly place this somewhere around here and let's make its anchor point also in the center. So select the layer, hold down the control key and double click on this. Perfect. So we have our elements and let's add more circles to the scene. So let me just quickly select this one and press Ctrl D. Now I'm going to move it over here and let me just quickly scale this up somewhere around here. And we are going to play around with the colors. So let's just set this around over here and I'm going to move this one just like that. Let me just quickly open this up and we can probably delete this one so that we have a little bit of darker color, just like this. Now you can also add some drop shadow in order to give it a more depth. So let's search for drop shadow and let's drag it onto these circles. So I'm going to drag it behind this one first and let's play around with a couple of these settings. So first let's increase the softness and then I'm going to play around with the opacity. You don't want to overdo this and I'm going to just add a little bit of subtle depth, something like this. Now we can copy this and just paste it onto these as well. And again, if you want, you can play around with these colors. You can click on the gradient and you can just move it wherever you want. But for this one, I think this is looking fine. And at last, we can add some shapes over here as well. Let me just quickly select this one and let's press Ctrl D. And on this one, I'm going to just turn it and make it into a custom shape. So in order to do that, just click over here, go under the content and let's open up the ellipse and select the ellipse path, right click and convert to Bezier path. Now you can use the pen tool to easily modify this shape and you can just play around with these and just make it however you want. So I think this shape is looking fine and we can tweak the colors finally. And let's add a little bit of white over here and just make this somewhere around here. Now you can also play around with the angle and so I think this is looking fine. So once you're happy with your scene, we are ready to do some animation, and for that I'm going to convert all of these layers into 3D except the background one. So I'm going to select all of them and let's turn the 3D option on. Now I'm going to add a camera because we are going to create the animation in 3D space. So for that, let's add a camera and it's 50 mm, 36 mm for film size. Just click on OK. Let's create one more null object so that we can parent this to the null. Make sure that this is 3D as well. Now we can parent the camera to the null so that we can control it easily. Now once you have the null object, we can click over here and from one view, we can select the two view. Now on this side, you will notice that we are able to see two windows, and over here we are seeing what our camera is looking at, and on this side we can see the side view. So you can see that our camera is over here and rest of the layers are over here. Now in order to play around with the animation, I'm going to first quickly select the null object and let's press P to add a keyframe for position, because this is going to be our final frame. And let's move this to somewhere around 3 seconds. And in the beginning, I'm going to move this camera to far away from the scene, and let's move it somewhere around here. So you can see that the camera is moving far and we are able to see the full scene, but we don't have to worry about it right now. So you can also move it using the cursor, something like this. So yeah, I think this is far enough. So over here you can see we have our camera and we have our final scene. And now we are ready to add bunch of different elements in between these two. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is just select these circles and press Ctrl D to duplicate them. And I'm going to quickly move them to the very top, and let's change their color because we are going to move them into the 3D space, and let's make this yellow for now. Now you can just simply zoom in and you can move them to the 3D space, and you can move them closer somewhere around here. Now just randomly place them here and there in your scene so that our camera will pass through these. If you want, you can press S to scale this up. You can move them wherever you want in your scene. So let's place this one over here. Now I'm going to select this one, press Ctrl D. So we have one more circle and we can just place it somewhere around here. Let's make this smaller. Also make sure to move them apart in the Z space as well, so that we have bunch of different elements. Let's select this, press Ctrl D, and I'm going to move this far away somewhere around here. Let's move this up something like this. Perfect. Let's select this, press Ctrl D once again, and let's add one more circle, and I'm going to place this over here. Let's move this down and let's move it far away in the Z space, just like this. Now we have some empty space over here, so I'm going to place one more circle. So press Ctrl D and let's move it far behind, and let's move it somewhere around here. Again, if you want, you can play around with their scale and you can just move them wherever you want. And once you're happy with this, we can quickly select these keyframes and let's press F9, or you can right click, go to keyframe assistant and easy ease them. And after that you can select the keyframes. Let's go to the graph, and I'm going to change the graph to look something like this. So let's move this on to the very left side and this one as well. Also make sure that you are using the speed graph, not the value graph. And if I play back, here you can see that our camera is moving through this space, but I think we have to move our camera much farther. So we can probably select the null object and let's move the camera more far away, something like this. Now you can play around with the position of these elements and maybe their scale as well. And let's make this closer. Let's select this one, let's make this larger and let's place it over here. So here you can see that our camera is passing through these circles. Perfect. So once you're done with this, we are ready to add some depth of field. So in order to make these blurry, now I'm going to select the camera layer, press A8 twice, or you can just simply toggle it open from here under the camera options. Let's enable depth of field. And first I'm going to increase the aperture quite a bit to something like 800 or something, so that everything is out of focus. Now we can add keyframes for the focus distance and aperture, and we can just move it back to our scene. So here you can see that everything is in focus because all of these elements are within the focal range, and I want this to be out of focus. So in order to do that, let's select this and I can probably zoom in. So you can see that I am going to move it along the Z space, and you can see that as I am moving it closer to the camera, it is becoming blurry because this is now out of the focus. Let me just quickly play around with its position. So here you can see that a couple of these elements will become blurry. Let's select this one and we can move this a little bit closer, and let's move this up as well. So I think this is fine. Let's go to the very beginning and you can see that everything is blurred. Now we can select both of these keyframes and let's move this to the very end. Now here you can play around with the focus, and you can increase this to make a couple of these into the focus range. So if I increase this up, you can see that now this one is in focus, but all of these are out of focus. So now if I play back, you can see that as our camera is moving, our focal length will change, and at the very end, all of these elements will come into focus just like that. Now we want all of them to be animated. So in order to do that, let's move our camera to somewhere around here. And at this point, I want these elements to animate. So I'm going to quickly first select my shoes. So let's select the media comp, and let's add a keyframe for position. Press R for rotation. Let's add keyframe for all the properties. Let's select and press U to reveal all of them. Now I'm going to move them to somewhere around 3 seconds. And over here, I'm going to just move it along the X space using the position property so that this is completely out of frame, just like that. Not only this, I'm also going to move it along the Z space so that it's somewhere around here. Now we can probably select this, and let's go back to the one view so that we can view our full scene. And you can see that as the camera moves, our shoe will come into the scene just like that. Now we can select these keyframes, press F9. Now if you want, you can move it around any other axis, something like this. But for this one, we are going to play only with Z and position. So we can probably remove the keyframes for these two. Now let's select all of them and go to the graph, and I'm going to change the graph to look something like this. Now if I play back, here you can see that our shoe will start moving into the scene just like that. Also, let's make sure that this is not visible in our scene earlier on. So over here, I'm going to just move it a little bit out of frame so that none of it is visible, and we can probably trim the layer so that we don't have the shoe in our scene over here, and it will come back once we have reached at this point. So I'm going to do the same thing with all of them. So let's add position keyframes for these two texts. Let's add them, and let's move it over here. Now I'm going to just move them to the left side, just like that. And just like with this layer, I'm going to trim this so that these are not visible. Let's select the logo, and let's move it to very end. And I don't want this to be in 3D, so I'm going to just turn this off, and let's add a simple position keyframe so that it comes down in our scene. And let's go to somewhere around here. We can probably move this up just like that. And let's play around with this Nike website. So let's trim the layer, and let's trim this one as well. So you can see that none of these elements are visible, and as our camera comes to this point, all of these will come into the frame. So we have our text. Let's press P for position. Let's add a keyframe, and let's move this to somewhere around here. And we can also do the same thing, and let's move it something like that. Now we can select all of these keyframes, press F9, and just change the graph to look the same that we did with the shoe. Let's move them to the left side so all of them will appear at once, something like this. Now we can add a little bit of delay in between them, so we can just make this come a little bit later on, something like this. So here you can see we have all the elements, and we can probably select this one, and I'm not liking this gradient, so we can fix this by simply selecting this, and we can play around with the angle, and we can just move this further away. So here you can see we have our final scene. Now if I play back, here you can see we have this very nice animation, and all the elements are moving in. But if you want, you can also add some animation to the rotation. So let's select the null object, and let's press R to add a keyframe for Z rotation. And in the beginning, we can just simply move this camera, and let's rotate it somewhere around here. Again, let's select the keyframes, press F9, and I'm going to just quickly change the graph to look something like this. And let's move this keyframe to somewhere around 3 seconds. So now if I play back, here you can see we have added this very nice rotation. So this is how you can create these kind of product slideshows. And the best thing about this is if you want to change the media, then all you have to do is just go inside this comp, and you can replace this product with whatever image you want, and it will be updated in your scene. You can play around with their colors. You can do whatever you want. So in this way, you can create these kind of professional looking product slideshow animations. And the project file for this tutorial is available on Patreon. So if you're supporting me over there, then you can download it from there. And if you're not, then you might consider it, because you will get access to the tutorial project files and exclusive templates that are available only on Patreon. So with that being said, my name is Abhishek and I'll see you in the next one.